All right. Thank you guys for jumping on. This is part 2 of our Dream Big series. So today, last time we talked about money blocks and money mindset and all of those kind of things that might prevent us from attracting more abundance to ourselves and being better stewards of what we do have so that we can be blessed with more. But today we're going to talk about some of the things that you might just think it's just who you are. It's just a part of you. So let me share my screen. We're going to be talking about the I'm not worthy block and the low key martyr block, and they're fairly similar, but a little different. Okay, can you guys see my screen, the I'm not worthy block? Okay, this is where in your head, just knowing your worth. And one of my affirmations that I always say, especially if I'm not in a great spot, is I am worthy. I believe the Christian in me, the one who believes that God made me and I am a child of God, believes that I was born with worth. I do not believe that any of us need to earn our worth. I think we were born with it, but I do think sometimes people come into our life that might make us believe that we're not worthy. And we have chosen sometimes to believe. So some people believe they're not worthy of wealth or success for different reasons, whether it's they didn't go to college, or they didn't do this, or they are comparing themselves to somebody else, and well, they're worthy of that, but I'm not, or they're a better person than I am, so they're definitely worthy of more. Just thinking others are more capable or more deserving than you, or that you might disappoint someone. And sometimes you're just afraid of success, what that's going to look like for you. Some people are worried about what people are going to think of them if they do get crazy successful. It's remarkable the kinds of things that we find to worry about the way people think of us. If you ever have thought that you're not good enough to be X, you're not good enough to be Y, you're not good enough to, you've had these dreams, but then in the back of your mind, you're like, you're not really good enough for that. You're not really capable of that. I'm not worthy can also look like you're not ready, or that it's too good to be true. Those are all things that I'm not worthy looks like. And how will that show up in your life? It could show up as procrastination, repeating old destructive behaviors when things are going good, and excuses. Time and time again, I have seen people, I won't claim to say it in their business, but I have seen it a lot in people with their health and wellness or their fitness, where they lose some weight and they've gotten on a good track of whether it's walking or going to the gym a certain number of times a week or whatever, and they're doing good, and then all of a sudden they just stop. Why do they do that? Oftentimes it's in their head if they're like, well, this is good as it's going to get, or, I'm not worthy. I mean, I don't know how many times, you guys, I have heard that the reason my brother is obese is because he's big boned. Okay, his skeleton probably should weigh close to what Rob's weighs because they're both 6'4". Bones are a little different, right? But a skeleton is a skeleton. They have both big boned because they got so many bones, they're 6'4". But my brother weighs 375 pounds and my husband weighs 230 pounds. They both got big bones. Every time my brother loses about 30 pounds, guess what happens? He gains it right back. And when I've talked to him about it, he's like, well, he let me coach him for about 3 weeks. That's about as far as he got. But in his mind, he's like, people just call me Big Blake. I'm just big. I've always been big. And when I start to lose weight, I think I'm losing my identity. So what is this identity that you're holding on to His to me is pretty extreme, but I think many of us have things like this. You know, if you feel like you don't have what it takes, or what was it, you're not ready yet to um rank up to a jewel, what are some things that you could do to get ready? It's action. It's taking action. But now, how often have you gotten into action and you're doing the things and things are going good, and then you just quit and you stop doing the reach outs? You're real good for like a week. You got real motivated, and then all of a sudden you just stop. You know, what does that look like? And what do those excuses look like? It can show up and kind of feel like unworthiness, like it's just not right for me. All of you have gone to convention and left thinking, I'm going to come back a jewel next time. Raise your hand if you have left convention swearing that you're going to be on the stage the next time that you come. And then, what are your thoughts in May before the next convention? Anybody want to unmute and share what you're thinking?
Next time. Next year.
Next year. It just wasn't my time. It wasn't my year. Right? So sometimes there's a fear of failure. How many years, Lori, unmute for me. Tell me, how many years in a row have you said in June that you would, while leaving convention, that you would be at least an emerald by the next year? How many years in a row do you think you've said that?
Probably every year.
So how many?
10.
Okay. Do you think there's something in your mind at this point that thinks you're going to fail after you said it this last time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is you say it and you're excited, but once you leave 2 months later, now all of a sudden it starts to kick back in. Look, I haven't made the progress I needed to make. I'm going to fail again. And you just start to believe that. And you think, might not be my year again. Right? That's all part of I'm not worthy. And so what we want to do is catch those things. Like, stop the self-sabotage. You know, thinking it's probably too good to be true. You know how we know it's not too good to be true? Because there were so many new emeralds this year that were on stage this year. That's how we know it's not too good to be true. Okay? Always waiting, you know, for another shoe to drop. What does that sound like in our business? It sounds like waiting for somebody else to quit. Not believing somebody who said they wanted to work the business with you is actually going to stick with it. You know, thinking it's just not gonna happen for me. People like me don't get that. You know? So hold on 1 second. Okay. So it can also look like low self-confidence. How do these hit for anybody? No one will take me seriously. I hope nobody of you guys feel like that, because you guys have been sharing the same stuff for 10 years. So people should be taking you seriously by now. I'm not good enough to have a jewel team. I don't deserve it. Everyone's talking about me and waiting for me to fail. It could be like, it might sound like maybe not that, but could it sound like for some of us, I've been saying I was going to be a jewel for so long and I haven't. Nobody believes me anymore. Or nobody pays attention to the goals I share because I never hit them. So do you stop sharing your goals when what we really know is speaking them into existence is super important? I don't know enough. I don't have enough experience. By the way, you guys all have plenty of enough experience right now. And always trying to prove your worth. That's kind of what I'm not worthy looks like if you're suffering from low self-confidence. And you might have really high self-confidence in one area and low in another. I think all of us have areas where we're like, I am so good at that. Like if somebody was like, hey, we need you to speak on a subject for 10 minutes and we're giving you a 15-minute warning. I think all of us have something where we could pull that off. And then there's others where if they gave us the subject, we might be like, nope, nope, can't do it. Right? Like if they wanted you to train, for 10 minutes on recruiting business builders, could you do it? For sure you could, because you've been listening to me for 3 years. Would you feel confident doing it? Maybe not. I don't know. Are you? Because that's the thing. Let me see what's on my. So with your I'm not worthy block, we all have it in some way. Let me see if I can. My desk is a hot mess because I did this marathon and then I did taxes. And remember, I told you I was going to share that stuff from the procrastination. All right. I don't know where my stuff is. I'm going to stick to the plan. That wasn't in the plan. I was veering off my plan. I'm going to stick to the plan. Okay. So 2 weeks ago, when I did a workshop with Les Eichenhorst and Rebecca Folks, I think I maybe shared this with you, but they had us work through how much money we wanted to earn. And so I actually did the math. I did the exact math for how much I needed to earn for Rob to leave his current corporate job. And then, of course, hi, my name's Christy Barkley. I backed it into how many points that means that I would need to earn that amount. And then I called my nearest diamond friend and I said, what's the diamond pool looking like on average per month? Because that takes away some of the points I need to. And so I mapped out like exactly, like people were throwing up in the chat, like 10,000, 15,000. I had my exact number, like, and it's like, I don't know, $26,833 or something silly. Like I put in taxes because we'd both be 1099. I put in everything. And that's how much I wanted to earn in my Plexus business. And when I did the math, it's about 9,800 something points. And I was like, huh, that's a whole lot of points. I don't actually think that I can do that. And that's what I was believing. And then I had the honor of spending all weekend with Marianne Anderson. And if you don't know her, she's amazing. And if you're not jumping on like her, how to build a business 15-minute calls once a week, you should. And she told me how many points she has a month. And I was like, when she told me, do you know what shifted in my head? I literally said, just last week, I was thinking there's no way I'd ever get to, 9,800, whatever points. And she was like, yeah, you will. And we're going to map it out. And we're going to map out exactly what that looks like. And I was like, you know why I didn't think I could do it? First of all, because I've never had anybody share with me their points that exceed that. Like we know, right? We know Celeste has 400 gazillion million points. We know Sonia has 800 gazillion million points. Helen is above her. She's got 1.5 zillion point, right? But I've never actually talked to somebody who told me exactly what they had and how to do it. And all of a sudden in my head, there wasn't any more of I'll never be able to do that. It was, okay, well, then let's figure it out. And all of that like lack of belief literally went away. Is it going to take me a hot minute? Duh. But it's not because I need to change what I'm doing. I just have to do more of what I'm doing. But it started with how much money do I want to make? Not a range, not a vagueness. How many points based on a $2.80 pay point? I didn't include any bonuses or anything in it. How many points? And then what is the average jewel pool? And once you have all of that, you know what you have? Quantifiable data. And when you have that, guess what you can do? Make a freaking plan. There's nothing vague about that. When I signed up to run the Chicago Marathon, they didn't say sign up to run a race. It's going to be somewhere between 20 and 30 miles. You'll be good. It might start at 8 a.m. It might start at 10. It might start at 1 a.m. No, you know what I knew? 26.2 miles on exactly what day at exactly what time. Do you know what I was able to do? Make a freaking plan. The key is sticking with it and believing I can freaking do the things. Also, I can do hard things. When you know that, this goes out the window. So, questions. Does anybody have questions about feeling not worthy or want to share where they have felt not worthy before or where any of these things have popped up for them? What is the average jewel pool? Okay, Georgia, it's gotten much, much lower. I was surprised to hear. When I was getting the emerald pool, so it's been about a year since I got the emerald pool, and it would range from like 800 to 1200. And then of course, emerald, then when you have sapphire, you get another percentage, and then diamond, you get another percentage. So diamonds get 5%. And Marianne says it's been sitting right around 1200 a month right now. Which was much, again, it used to be much higher. She also shared a lot about how, I will not share any of this on the recording. I will tell you after the recording. Okay, so that is low right now, in my opinion, based on when I first hit emerald, the emerald pool was over 1,000. Okay, so we are not, that's just so you know, for in your calculations, because do the math. That's not hard. And then decide how quickly you want it to happen. And now when you're taking action, you're removing the blocks. And that's where, how do we remove the I'm not worthy blocks? Start to recognize the thought without an emotional attachment. So if you have the thought, I can't go emerald, what are you going to say instead? I can go emerald. I just need 1,500 points. And if I grow by 100 points a month, this is how long it's going to take me. By the way, if you start growing 100 points a month real quick, like then you're growing 200 points a month and then 300 points a month and 400, because that's what compounding interest does. Okay. Decide if you want the thought to come true. So Lori, how you said this week you would catch yourself with thoughts. When a thought pops in your head, find out, ask it. Do I want this to be true? You guys have all done enough of the CTFAR thought processing to realize a thought comes from a circumstance and creates a feeling. And if the circumstance is, I will go emerald when I earn 1,500 points, you have two thoughts. I'm going to go emerald by X date, or I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to go emerald. You get to decide. And because then whatever your thought is creates your feeling, right? And if I'm never going to go emerald, then the feeling is sad or anxious or whatever it is. And then what's your action? You don't message the people. If the thought is, if the circumstance is, it takes 1,500 points to go emerald, and the thought is, I'm going to go emerald by July of 2026. The feeling is, excited. The action is reaching out to people because you know you need to add X number of people by June 2026, so you can walk on, or by May of 2026, so that you can walk on stage. By July, if you want to go to Mexico, but by May, if you want to walk on stage. And that's a real solid thought, right? That's changing the subject in your brain. So I would love for homework and for you guys to write down what you're worthy of, everything you want and everything you desire in all areas of your life. On the workbook page, it says I'm not worthy block. And you're just going to kind of write out, try to catch them, because here's the thing that is so true. If you have thoughts that appear regularly and you aren't catching them, that's on you. Catch them and decide to change them. And so writing out some of them, that allows you to start catching them way quicker. I'm also going to tell you my favorite tip changed everything for me. I know I have shared this in other calls. I don't know even what it was related to, probably setting big goals, but I want you to write down the name of the person who typically, I call them bubble poppers, the negative Nellies, the people who are like, yeah, whatever, heard you say that before. Who's the person who maybe doubts what you believe you are capable of? Write that name down. Don't worry, you don't have to tell me. Now I want you to write down the name of the person who truly is your biggest cheerleader. The person that no matter what you call them about, they're like, girl, you got this. You can do anything you set your mind to. How can I help you? What's it going to look like? How are you going to do it? This is going to be amazing. Who is that person? Write their name down. Okay, here's where the really wackadoodle thought comes in, and I promise it works. Every time a negative thought or a doubt creeps into your mind, I want you to say, thanks for your opinion, blank, the person who typically is your bubble popper. Thanks for your opinion. I don't need it right now. Blank, the person who's your biggest cheerleader. What do you think? What I learned early on when I was going through coaching to become a certified coach was that my negative thoughts almost always came from my mom. But if I really gave credence to who was my rock and cheered me on, no matter how bonkers my idea was, it was my aunt, Marilyn. And so I can't tell you how many times in the first 5 months when I was going through this process, I would think something, then some kind of thought would pop into my head that made me doubt myself. And I'd be in the car and I'd be like, thanks for your opinion, Mom. Not looking for it. Aunt Mare, what do you think? I could literally hear my Aunt Mare talking to me. And you know what my Aunt Mare always thinks? I'm freaking amazing. Right? If you only read social media, you would think that my mom thinks I'm super amazing also. But she has said some pretty awful things in my life. And so that is a thought catcher that is really powerful when you have really big goals. To call on the person who you know is going to cheer you on and just speak them into existence in your mind and let them talk to you, you'll be amazed at how that works. I can't wait to hear next week how you use that this week and how quickly it shifts things. It becomes automatic. I don't even have to say anything to my mom anymore. Literally, if a negative thought pops up, my mind just says, Aunt Mare, and it's like her voice recording. All good stuff. Because now my brain knows. I don't listen to the garbage. Not for very long. Okay, so it's a really great tool to have. All right, let's talk about the low-key martyr beliefs. These are the ones that I think are super common that you didn't think were bad or holding you back. I don't need anything big or fancy. My dreams are simple and I'm fine with that. The fancy stuff is not for me, or living an abundant life is sinful. Some of this comes from, a lot of this stems from religious beliefs of how important it is to be meek and humble. Except for, here's the thing. Do you know how many times abundance is in the Bible? The King James Version? 117 times. If you use some of the other translations, it goes as high as 231 times where abundance or abundantly is used. Not in shame, but in the life our Heavenly Father wants us to live. Because here's the thing. You can have a hugely abundant life and still choose not to carry a Louis Vuitton purse. But if you have a hugely abundant life, you can give like nobody else. Do you know who has a bigger impact on people? You pick. Someone who lives paycheck to paycheck, or someone who has enough money to give to whatever charity they want, whenever they want, and make a difference. Who can make a bigger impact? Who do you think God actually wants you to be? He made you that you may have joy. That doesn't mean you need 20 Louis Vuitton purses and a couple Chanel's. Maybe you do. It doesn't matter. If you have those and you still have a huge heart for giving, that's amazing. He doesn't care how many fancy purses you have, right? Because it's the love of money that's the sin. Having money is not a sin. Earning great abundance is not a sin. The more you have, the more you can give. If you doubt me, go back and read the parable of the talents. Okay? The person that turned their talents into more talents, they got the biggest kudos. They get the biggest pat on the back. You know who got in trouble? The guy who hid his one talent and buried it so it wouldn't be lost. That's the same as living paycheck to paycheck. Okay? So low-key martyrs often have these kind of thoughts buried underneath. They're afraid that they really want it. They're afraid people will judge them for wanting it. They're afraid wanting it will make them selfish or a bad person. I've said it 100 times. I'm going to say it 101 times. More money will make you more of who you are. If you are a kind, caring, giving, charitable person, and you have more money, guess what you're going to be more of? More kind, more caring, more charitable. If you're a douchebag and you don't give anybody anything, guess what you're going to be with more money? A real rich douchebag. That's all. Money doesn't change. It's just a dollar amount in your bank account. They're afraid someone in their life will not approve of them for wanting more. For me, that was my mom. That woman's got more to say about rich people than anybody you ever know. I don't know if she realizes this yet. She does, because she acts ashamed of it, how much money my stepdad makes. They were looking at a house a couple months ago. Turns out he didn't even need to finance. He was pre-approved to pay cash for a $1.3 million home. She didn't know. She thinks anybody who needs a house that big, they should just give money to the poor. I continue to remind her that rich people give a lot of money to the poor because their tax accountant told them to, whether they wanted to or not. But my mom, I grew up thinking there was something bad about rich people. And it was crazy when I first hit Emerald. I would kind of drop back down and not want to tell my mom that how much I had made. Because what if she thought I was selfish? They already thought I was bad for having a master's degree when nobody else went to college. Now what happens when I make a lot of money? I had to get over it. I had to get over it. And that's where my Aunt Mary came in, who's like, girl, make that money so you can have fun in retirement. like, and before retirement, and travel. Um, sometimes people with these beliefs think one in it will mean they aren't grateful for what they have. No, just be a really good steward of what you have so that you can have more. That's the way it works. I like to tell people, stop praying for enough money to cover your bills, because you know what you're going to get? Enough money to cover your bills. What if you prayed for enough money to make a difference in whatever thing it is that sets your heart on fire? So with your low-key martyr block, that where you're going to write out just things, is it easier for you to think of things to do for others rather than yourself? Do you struggle to think about your wants and desires and dreams and needs? All this is at the top of that page, which you're just going to write out. Just write it out again, because the more you write it out, the more you become aware of it. Why do you think you might be hesitant to dream big and go after your dreams? Here's what I know. I don't think any of you are hesitant to dream big, or you wouldn't still be doing this darn thing 10 years later. So what is blocking you from achieving the big dream? And that's what we want to get rid of. You guys are all writing down the big dream, but then you're not for some reason, and you've got to figure it out. You've got to do the work by writing it out, being honest, maybe asking your best friend, if they've heard you saying things that they might catch or not realize. And once you become aware, again, you can realize they're all just thoughts, and you get to decide how you want to change those thoughts. In the same way I asked you to do your power mottos and change and rewrite them, you're going to do the same thing here with any of these thoughts, or just because you have to replace them, right? Who has questions or thoughts? That's all we'll do for tonight, and we'll move into more of the permission to dream big and what that's going to look like next week. Anybody have anything? Did this hit home with anybody? Was there anything here that maybe you think might be affecting you in some way or another?
I think these are really good exercises, and I don't care what level you're at, to walk through this would be fruitful, because it's always good to get the clarity back, and as you stated, to become aware, because awareness is how you know what you're looking for. Because often you just go about living life, living and hearing these thoughts go through your head, and you're not processing them, you're just letting them fly. And I think it's really important to take the time to pause and to hear the statement and rewrite it in your head so that you affirm instead of tear down. I think that's really gold here. Thank you for this.
Yeah, I think that's just it. We get so busy and we let the thoughts flow.
Mhm.
The problem is they stick, our brain believes them.
Yep.
You know, I think it's not a secret how I don't agree with maybe how the past Plexus person who really brought the CTAFR method to all of us, what she's doing these days. But I remember her sharing a practice that she did, that I think might be really valuable. I think I might start doing it. You can if you want. But what she would do every morning is take a thought and then just do that whole, whatever thought she woke up with, and just process through it. She said some days she'd have to, like if she was going through something hard or whatever, she'd do that whole method, circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result every morning, but to just work through. So if you wake up and you have the thought that you can't reach out to 10 people today, or Judy, or if you have the thought that I don't have anybody to share the business with, well, that's just a thought. What if you reworked it? What if we took a thought every single day that might be prohibiting us from growing our business and just wrote it out, not just in our head, but actually wrote it out every single day? That might be helpful. You know, I shared with you that I've started writing 5 dreams down in my journal every single night before I go to bed, so that I go to bed thinking of amazing things I'm gonna get. But I think I might start waking up in the morning and jotting down a thought and then freaking going to work. Sending the messages. Just a thought. Take it or leave it.
One thing that I tell myself, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, I guess, but I do feel worthy. I don't feel like I deserve anything. I mean, God gives us and blesses us. We don't deserve it. He died for everything we have and gave us his life, and blesses us. So I know you put, I don't deserve it. And I thought, I don't ever feel like I deserve anything, but I do feel worthy of things. So maybe it's just the word. I just need to rethink and read.
Oftentimes it's just the word. Like for me with money, the word save was not good for me. One thing I might ask you, Vicky, is if you believe that God has given you, put you on earth with a divine potential that only you can fulfill,
I do.
then you are deserving of that divine potential.
Okay.
And you probably need to work harder. Most of us, I think, I mean, all of us, we're going to walk to the gates and we're going to be good and loved and accepted and redeemed. And yes, but I don't ever want to be asked, why didn't you work harder to fulfill that divine potential I gave in you? You could have made such a big difference in the lives of foster kids. I put that on your heart. Why didn't you work harder to do that? I don't want to answer that question because right now it wouldn't be a good answer. Because it's on my heart. This, what I desire to do for aging foster kids, is been in my heart for so long. And right now I volunteer my time, but I don't have the money to give in that area like I would like to yet. But I feel like that's a huge part of what I'm supposed to be doing. And I need to earn more to do it. So it's less about deserving. Like I don't deserve 50 more sweatshirts and new purses and things, but I do deserve the opportunity to serve an underserved community in the United States right now. And I have to earn more to do that. It's just a different way it's just a different spin, because truly words and how the word sits in your mind and heart can make all the difference in the world. Just another way to think of it, because I think that we all deserve to achieve our divine potential. And
I agree.
and I think that potential requires quite a bit of effort on our part.
Okay.
Might we say sacrificial
Yes.
efforts?
Yes. You can, well, however it feels right on your heart.
Yeah.
You know, some people's why truly is to help other moms have more money so that they can stay home with their kids and not have to work out of the home. You know, for some people that really is, it can look different for everybody. But oftentimes it takes you working hard to have the success and the influence to make a difference in a truly divinely prosperous way. And you know what that means? Reaching out to people about the Plexus business. And if they don't want it, sell them your pink drink. The more people you do that with, it's the simplest formula on the planet. And so it just is. Any other questions or thoughts anybody wants to share? I so appreciate you guys sharing everything. All right, you guys, have a great night. And I will be dropping stuff in the chat tomorrow. I'm gonna finally start catching up with myself. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Tomorrow's gonna be a good day. Today was a good day. Everybody just go be amazing. Go be amazing.
Can I ask a question after we stop recording?
Oh, yes.